Okay, you're live. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 1st Town Council meeting. And if you will please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, tonight is a very exciting meeting for us because we have some folks here to talk to us about green initiatives and sustainability and potential certification for the town. So I want to welcome Jessica LeClaire from Sustainable CT and also Joe Buonanata from Green Bank. Thank you guys for being here, and we're super excited to hear what you have to say. So I don't know, Jessica, maybe if you want to kick it off and introduce yourself and where you're from and go from there. I know you have a slideshow for us. And
I do. So do I have screen share privileges? I do. All right, excellent. Yes. So just confirming with some nods, can everyone see this?
Yep.
Wonderful, okay. So I shall make it large and we'll get going. So first I want to thank the mayor for inviting me here tonight. As she mentioned, my name is Jessica LeClaire and I'm with the Institute for Sustainable Energy at Eastern Connecticut State University. And we oversee the Sustainable CT program. And the mayor asked me to talk a little bit about what Sustainable CT was, go over the steps for our certification process, and then talk a bit about some of the supports that we have available to towns who are participating in the program. So Sustainable CT is a relatively new statewide municipal certification program intended to help towns advance their overall sustainability. And when we say sustainability, we mean more than the traditional environmental sense, though we do include that. But on top, we layer on things like transportation, arts and culture, public health, housing, local businesses, really everything that makes a community a place where people want to live, work, and play. At the core of the program, we have a menu of actions that towns can pick from to work on that will get you points that count towards an overall certification level. And along the way, we have different resources and supports available to towns to help them move through their sustainable CT journey. This is our definition of sustainability and mission statement rolled into one. And I won't read it to you, but I wanted to show it to you so you can get a sense of that broad look of sustainability that we're taking. So again, more than environmental, we're thinking about all things that make a community whole and healthy. So the program's set up to be pretty straightforward. We have a menu of actions. You pick the actions that you want to do, you do them, you get points, you get certified. There's really no one-size-fits-all way to navigate Sustainable CT. You have complete autonomy to pick and choose the actions that work for your town, that speak to your unique character, who you are now, and where you want to be down the road. And we have about 70 actions in the program, and those actions fall within these 12 different categories that you can see on the screen. So it could be that you want to work on some land and natural resources actions. And I have to say, I was just on a trail in Rocky Hill, and I'm blanking on the name of that trail, but it was right alongside the river and it was by the ferry and it was awesome. We were out there 2 weekends ago and it's freezing cold and we saw a bald eagle and it was terrific and beautiful and just a little gem that we stumbled upon. So maybe you want to work on some land and natural resources actions or energy or materials management, whatever is interesting and important to the town. There's lots of different ways to move through Sustainable CT. Each action in the program was designed to have as many benefits as possible to really maximize the bang for your buck as you're moving through the Sustainable CT framework. And we realized there's 70 actions. Within those actions, there's sub-actions. So there's lots of different opportunities for communities. So this could be a sorting tool for Rocky Hill if you join the program. And let's just say economic well-being is of particular interest to you right now. You can zero in on the actions that might lead to that outcome. And how we've structured it is that you might get multiple benefits from just seeking out that one particular action. There are other benefits to participating in the program, besides what you might get from completing any one action. At the end of the day, this is a recognition program, and we've been happy and excited to certify 61 towns to date. So these are towns that have a feather in their cap. They can showcase the amazing work that they're doing with regard to sustainability and use that for lots of different things. One that comes to mind quickly is as a branding tool to showcase that sustainability is of interest in the community and something that they're active and successful with, which does matter to people when they're considering where they want to stay or where they want to move to. We have funding and resources available to towns who've registered in the program. We don't intend our resources to be rewards for getting certified. The journey is the reward, so we've got lots of funding and, technical supports to help you move through the program action by action. And just one more to highlight on this screen before we move forward is the partnership benefit. And this is something that we've heard from the majority of the towns that have gotten certified. We're taking a broad look at sustainability. And because of that, towns are looking outside of their normal circles, perhaps, and reaching out across commissions, reaching out across municipal staff, municipal departments, reaching out to nonprofits and regional entities who are doing work in the area and learning about some pretty cool things that are happening and finding ways to enhance that work together. I get calls all the time from towns saying, gosh, I did not know we were doing X, Y, or Z, and it's so cool and I can't wait to tell my neighbors. And that's something we thought might take longer in the program to come about, but we started to see that within the first year within towns who were seeking certification, which is really exciting and really about creating community and creating a sense of civic engagement amongst the population coming together for one common cause. So at present, we have 117 towns who have registered to join the program, which we're really excited about. So we launched Sustainable CT in November of 2017. So we're 3 years and some change. And over that time, we had 61 towns get certified, and these 61 towns have completed almost 2,000 actions in the program, which is amazing. And all of those actions, you can go in and see them on our website. So every town here on the map that's shaded silver or bronze has received one of those 2 levels of certification, which are the current 2 levels that we offer. We are working to develop a gold, but we wanted to get there as a state and sort of test out what bronze and silver look like with towns and get municipal feedback as we created what could be and it might be the uppermost level of sustainable CT. So we didn't want to rush into that. But at any rate, any of those silver or bronze shaded communities, you can go in and see their certification reports. So it's a great learning library of sample policies, event photos, planning documents. You can go in and read anything and everything that a town completed that they got credit for under the program, So an example, we've got Weathersfield, your neighbor. They were certified this past October. They got 520 points. You can go in and click on their report and see everything that Weathersfield completed, which was pretty phenomenal. Their first pass through in the program and they achieved our highest level of designation. So kudos to them. So the certification process. These are the steps to getting certified if that is a goal of the town. The first step is to pass a resolution. That resolution tells us 3 things: that you're interested in participating in the program, that there's a contact in the town, which is really just someone that we can reach out to make sure that everything's going smoothly. And it says that you'll create a sustainability team, which is a grouping of people that will carry out the program. And that could be an existing committee or commission. It could be a new group, it could be staff, it could be a mixture of people, it could be formal ad hoc. You know how business gets done in your town, and we don't want to put too many bounds around that. But you have a team and you have a contact, some of that infrastructure to carry out the program at your own pace. There's absolutely no cost to join the program. You work through the program when it feels right. You might be working really hard, something comes up, you hit the pause button for a while, that's okay. You might not want to get certified, that's okay. You might just work through action by action using the tools, advancing sustainability in a way that makes sense for your town. And that's fine by us as well. So you pass the resolution, set up the team, you register on the website, you get a blue dot on the map. So those are the towns that are registered. And then look through the actions, see what your sustainability base is. You get credit for work that's been completed in most cases. And then you just work through the program again at your own pace, using tools if you want to, and getting certified if you want to. So those are the steps. And this is what it looks like. So in 2018, our very first year, we had 22 towns achieve certification, and we make these awards at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities annual convention. In 2019, we had 32 towns join, and this year, even during COVID, we had 17 towns achieve certification, which we were really excited by. We didn't know if communities would be able to continue their sustainable CT efforts. What was most encouraging and exciting for us too were towns using the sustainable CT actions as in their COVID recovery and response, to sort of meshing the program to meet the current moment. So this slide is exciting. Again, we try to make program updates to reflect what we're hearing from towns as they're moving through the program. So we have 3 years of data, 3 years of working with communities, and we've added new actions, new categories, more flexibility, more options, and more opportunities for towns based on what we've heard. We do that every year, but 2021 rollout was a little bit bigger than normal. So if Rocky Hill is interested in joining, this is a great time. We've field tested sustainable CT over the past several years, and we're getting closer. But we still want to hear from towns with regard to what's working or what's not working. As different communities wear the program, we're learning new things that we should be considering. We want to continue to advance sustainable CT and advance the sustainability needle across Connecticut. So now the fun part, how we support you along that way. The first one up there is the easiest, but sometimes the most helpful, just one-on-one support. You join the program, there's a lot of actions, there's a lot of sub-actions, and it might be overwhelming, but we're completely here for you. And we know the program really well. You know your town really well. And in a quick conversation, 5-minute phone call, we can cover many different things and make pairings and help you figure out what you've done, what your base might be. And we're happy to do it. That's what we're here for. I will literally be in this chair helping towns move forward. So whenever communities have questions, an email, call, we want to be with you and support you along the way. We have lots of consulting services available to towns to work through actions, and these are always free. So we have equity coaches on our team to help you with our equity actions. We've partnered with organizations like the Nature Conservancy to run community resilience building workshops in town, where TNC facilitates a half-day workshop virtually now. They produce a proceeding of those sessions, and what the town does is assess their strengths and vulnerabilities to natural hazards, and they come out of that session with the startings of a community resilience plan that they can use to make quick changes right away to build back stronger and faster if natural disaster should strike. We're working with utilities to help with energy benchmarking. I don't have a bullet because we've got the live Joe on the line here working with the Green Bank. They've got a variety of different opportunities for towns that we've paired with different actions. So Joe can talk a little bit more about that. And you are lucky because Green Bank is located right in Rocky Hill. So we actually go to Rocky Hill quite frequently for meetings at the Green Bank. It's a great town and we're always looking forward to getting out in the field. When that's safe again, we'll continue up with that. We have lots of events, webinars, different training opportunities based on actions, based on questions we're hearing from towns. For instance, we were getting questions on our equity actions. We've got a series, 4 3-part equity training series that we're rolling out starting this month. They're starting in February. The month just flipped over. So we try to be responsive to what we're hearing from towns to provide additional layers of support and technical assistance. We have fellows that come on the ground every summer, full-time at the councils of governments to provide whatever you need in terms of direct support. It could be helping you figure out where you already have points scored in the program. It could be helping you get your applications in order. It could be helping you complete actions. The fellows have been phenomenal over the past 3 years, and we expect they'll be the same for this year. You are in CROG, and CROG has 2 fellows, so lots of time from some very highly motivated students that we are in the middle of hiring. So if you know any students who are interested, our application period is actually still open for the next 2 weeks. And last but not least is our community match fund, which I'll explore in just a little more detail because it's something that might be of interest. This is the funding program that we have associated with Sustainable CT. It's intended to be fast and flexible and to get projects up off the ground very quickly. So we match dollar for dollar up to $7,500 per project for projects that align either directly or indirectly with one of our 70 very broad sustainability actions. So there's lots of flexibility, there's lots of opportunities. Anyone in a registered town, anyone, connected to the town, not connected to the town, never heard of Sustainable CT, anyone in town is eligible to sponsor a project that relates, again, directly or indirectly to one of our actions that will have a public good, no private gain, as long as they can raise half the money. It's exciting. We, again, launched it in September of 2019. And since then, we've given out collectively more than $1 million. There's been 90 plus projects. The average project budget has been $15,000 and over 3,000 donors. So this is something that's really taken off, and the majority of the community match fund's existence has been during COVID. So even with the additional stresses and financial stresses, people have been coming to the table and giving money for projects that matter to them. So we've had projects in all 8 counties, 53 towns so far have had projects. Multiple projects have occurred in the same town. And there's no cap on the number of projects a town can sponsor as long as a project wraps up or the project sponsors are different. So what that means is it could be the town planner has a project that they're the lead on, John Smith down on Main Street has a project, and Carrie White of whatever, Smith Street has a project, and all 3 projects could be happening simultaneously. So this is just a little donation map, and we do have international donors as well, so people are hearing about the match fund. And we work with a group called Patronicity. It's like Kickstarter or GoFundMe, but this Patronicity group, you give a photo, a couple of paragraph descriptions of the project, a quick budget, and that becomes your project page. It's set up to be pretty user-friendly. And then you raise the money. And if you need help in how to effectively raise funds, the Patronicity organization can provide that support as well. So again, intended to be fast, flexible. You have a project idea, you call up our community match fund manager, talk about it, write up a short description, get a few photos. Your project is live, raise the money, and here's the check. And let's get something on the ground now. Again, anyone can participate, anyone can sponsor a project. And we are very grateful to our funders and our general Sustainable CT funders. And that's it from me. And that was a lot of information and I threw at you quickly. So pause if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. I think, why don't we move into Joe's presentation, tie them together, and then we can do our questions after that, if that works for you guys. Okay. All right.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Buonanata. Thank you, Mayor Murata, for having me and members of the council. So I don't have a formal presentation. I am just going to give a quick introduction of myself and the Connecticut Green Bank. I'm actually coming at you live tonight from my home right here on Hayes Road in Rocky Hill. So I am both a town resident and I work in town. So I'm very excited to be here and joining Jess to talk about Sustainable CT. If you're not familiar with the Connecticut Green Bank, we're a quasi-public state agency. We are based in the 91 Tech Center on the corner of Brook Street and Cromwell Ave. So we have been in Rocky Hill since the organization or the agency was founded over 10 years ago now. So we have our roots in Rocky Hill. We are the Connecticut Green Bank is a quasi-public state agency that focuses on financing clean energy projects, energy-related improvement projects in both the residential and commercial and industrial space. We also manage the state of Connecticut's residential solar rebate program. So anyone who's installing solar on their home has access to an upfront cost reduction that's administered by the Green Bank. We have a group within the Green Bank that focuses on community outreach, and that's our group that works most closely with Jess and the team at Sustainable CT. My role within the Green Bank is managing the residential energy financing programs. So I work a lot with educating homeowners, meeting with towns, meeting with energy task forces, which several towns have, just volunteer groups, and meeting with other members of the community to educate their communities about energy improvements at their homes and at their businesses. So putting on my just, you know, as a member of the town, as a resident of the town, I think this is an exciting no cost opportunity for Rocky Hill to pursue, which is great. And the program now has so many actions that you can take and we can also create our own. And we've done so many, you know, projects already in town. So lots of opportunity to, you know, to get the points if the town agrees to join. So happy to serve as a resource. I know my colleagues at the Green Bank are happy to serve as a resource for the council if you have any questions. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Jess.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both so much. I think I will open it up for comment. I think we'll start with Councilor Malero because we never start with you first. So, it's a new year.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
No, first of all, thank you for both being here. The presentation was very clear. It was very, for myself personally, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the town. Behind it 100%. I don't have any specific questions at this point. Everything that was presented was absolutely clear. In fact, I went out to the website myself as we were talking based on some of the points you made, but I don't have any specific questions for the group, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Thoreau.
I also like to thank Jessica and Joe for coming. I had a couple of questions written down and you answered them. It was a very good presentation, and I think it's something that we definitely want to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Prakash.
Yeah, thank you for being here to both Jessica and Joe. And that was a really tight and very informative presentation. I have two questions, really quick ones. I don't know if you mentioned this in your presentation or not. What is the typical time to get certified? I know it might be a big distribution of towns, like depending on how much they're engaged and who they have talking to you, and like if there is a dedicated person or not. But what is a typical time, like an average time to get certified to a bronze level, let's say? And the second one is like, do you have like what is the profile of a person you work with on the town side? Like, is it the economic development guy? Is it the, I don't know, the tax assessor? I'm just making this up. But what is the profile of that person? Who will be the right person to, I know you just said like it can be anyone, but I'm sure that's not what it is. It has to be somebody who knows what they're doing, I'm sure.
Those are two great questions. So in terms of timeline, I wish I could give you a set answer. It depends on the town. It depends on your goal. So we each year offer 2 certification checkpoints in the spring, usually around early April, and one end of August. And we call that the fall, even though in my mind, that's summer. That's like the best part of summer, but we call it fall. At any rate, if you have a goal of one of those 2 checkpoints, depending on when you set that goal, we'll try to help you get there. One example of a town working really hard, they joined in July and they got certified in August, and they had a very busy month. And they worked very closely with one of our fellows to get that done. I would not suggest towns do that. That's not I don't think the goal is the rush. The goal is in our eyes, the goal is the process, but certification, of course, is a goal. So you join the program, assess where you're at, identify any gaps in your application. So I showed you those 12 action categories. What we have as a requirement is you do 1 action in each of those 12 categories. And again, that's one little 5-point thing, which could be as simple as attending a training, and that could qualify your whole category. But you assess where you're at with that. We have 1 required action, an equity action, which I can discuss more if you have any questions. And then you sort of see if you can hit the point thresholds, which would be 200 points for bronze or 400 points for silver. And I believe we have almost 2,000 possible points within all of the actions. So there's again, just lots of opportunities to move through. So it could be you join tonight and you're certified by August. That would be 100% reasonable. What I would suggest is you use our April deadline as a checkpoint to see where you're at. We have over 50 external reviewers who help us look at applications and provide feedback. And then if there are any gaps, work with our fellows closely over the summer to finish things up. But that doesn't have to be your goal. You could set your goal and just move towards it slowly. It's really up to you. Whatever you set as success, you define success. If you're comfortable and you want to work with us, we will learn that with you and help you get there. That's sort of my job as a sort of a municipal liaison. And then in terms of the standard person who's helping lead the charge, we often work with town planners or economic development directors. Just generally, they're people who tend to have their hands in lots of different things that are going on in the town, so they have an awareness of what's happening. It doesn't have to be the case. People who are very passionate about sustainability or who kind of know what's going on, and that could be anyone in the town. There's always someone who is just a people person. And if you want something, you want to know something, you go to that person. It could be that person. Or it's just someone who knows that person really well and can connect. We also have some towns that have volunteers who lead the efforts. That can be somewhat more challenging because we are certifying the town. So there are things volunteers don't have access to that town staff do. So there has to be a relationship there that's strong and connected. But usually it's someone who has a handle on what's going on, or a core group of people who can meet frequently and weave this into their daily operations. But
yeah, and the reason I asked that question was because this is in addition to somebody's day job, right? So I'm sure like anybody who you give this to, for their portfolio is not going to be thrilled having another, another thing in their portfolio, I guess. But that's why I was asking, like, because this is in addition to somebody's day job, and depending on like what that person looks like. If it's going to be John Mayer, our town manager, he's definitely not going to get us certified. He has like too much going on. Or John, did
well,
I
you frame it.
overstate
It could
that?
be additional, or it could be it's probably in alignment with a lot of work that's happening, especially for progressive towns like yours that are doing a lot of stuff after conversations with the mayor, just hearing some of the things that you have going on. It's just sort of getting familiar with our apps and how they align with what you're already doing and seeing how you can streamline those efforts. But putting it on one person, we do ask that for the resolution. That person's not on the hook for everything. That is just literally a living email address that we can have to connect to make sure you're getting our newsletters, when events are coming up. And then hopefully you have a team to share some of that workload.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Duff, can I throw you in the middle and you won't ask like all the questions?
Sure. I have one's really more of a chance for a plug than a question. Then I have one that's a question. So I was also like Councilor Malero taking a sneak peek at the website. So one of the things that I thought was really cool about your presentations, you mentioned that it doesn't have to be it can be anybody in town. It doesn't have to be governmental or not. If they've got a good idea that might align with the mission, they can request funding. So it looks like the matching funding, as long as they can raise the funds and hit the thresholds. So it looks like for folks who are interested in that, it's sustainablect.org/funding, and then that will take you either, if you have an idea, you can go to the patronicity page, or there are contacts. Is that all that's involved for someone who might be watching at home? Say, I've got an idea sitting on the couch, or is there more steps to it than that?
Well, the town has to be in the program first, but then it's as simple as that. So the town is in. Someone who's watching tonight, hello, nice to meet you. You call up Abe Hilding Solario of our team. His contact information is on the URL you said, and you discuss the project, make sure it's in alignment. Bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. Well, you got to raise the money too, but we'll help you do that. And we've actually seen quite a few projects raise more than what they set, just because people were willing to donate and excited about the project, which has been really encouraging to see.
Very good, thank you. And my second question was, so you mentioned it seems like there's a couple different milestones. So we have like maybe an inventory process first, if we move forward, when maybe that's the first checkpoint, and then there's some other the different certification levels. But you had originally, I think you had described 12 different categories and 70 or so different actions that roll up into those categories. As part of that process, how do municipalities go about setting which of those areas to focus on? And I guess, is there a kickoff or a community engagement process? Because we probably, everybody in this call probably has their own set of what's most important to them. And as we learn more about the town, we'll learn more about what our strengths are. But how does the community engagement piece work as well? I think that'll be helpful just to make sure that we're focusing on not only the ideas that we think are useful, but get that that feedback from the community as well.
No, that's great that you're thinking about bringing in additional voices in the community at large. So it really is up to the town, and we've seen different approaches from different cities and towns. So some, once they join, the next thing they do is have us come out and do the same sort of sustainable CT 101 with maybe boards and commissions, and see how that integrates, how the program and the actions might integrate with the work of their specific commissions. And then they have that roll up to whoever the sustainability team is in terms of capturing some of the work that's happened, some of that inventorying of work that's been completed. We've done that with town staff. So some towns, you sit with some key department heads for a half an hour and you will have the whole list checked off of what's been done. And that's something we're happy to do as well. Sometimes it could be a mixture. We have had towns do this 101. They'd created their own 101, and it speaks specifically to their town from their voice, their perspective, and they go out to various commissions and partners and come up with their game plan. We're happy to brainstorm different approaches, and we do try to connect towns with other towns. So one thing that we did at the start of the pandemic, every Friday from March till, gosh, it lasted a couple months, every single Friday, we had a coffee hour, Fridays at 10, where towns, we'd have like 40 to 50 people from wherever, community match fund project reps or town reps, come together and just sort of share what they were working on. And that was really popular. And then we sort of shifted gears, moving into the pandemic, figuring out how to relive as individuals in this virtual world. But we're bringing back the coffee hours informally for 2021, once a month this time, something a little more manageable for everyone's Zoom life. And our first one we had in January was this. We had the town of New Milford come in and talk about their whole process. So they were certified bronze in 2018. They kickstarted their campaign again this year, well, really last year, but they're working to get silver certified in 2021. They have a massive team of volunteers primarily, with some staff, and they've sort of presented their trials and tribulations of moving forward, what they learned, what's working, and we'll continue to do things like that because we're not towns. I don't work for a town. I do volunteer in a town, but it's a different experience. So just so there's that aspect of peer learning. But yeah, we'll help you brainstorm and help you connect with other towns to figure out what might be most effective. But we are all figuring this out together, which is the exciting part.
Thanks.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Sharma, would you like to make any comments or have any questions?
Sure, thank you. Welcome, and thank you for the presentation. And so I was just wondering, we have a committee already in town with you must be bumping into this around the state, where the Harvard Foundation for Public Giving has put seed money into town. So we have a fund of $100,000, and then we have so the oversight committee and the advisory committee are well underway and populated with volunteers, and they're open for getting. So it's almost like asking for a grant. You come up with an idea, which probably many of them are on your checklist. I'm wondering, so they have a lot of rules and regulations regarding release of the funds, but I'm wondering, do you partner up? Have you bumped into them, or have you partnered up I mean, it's one way to raise, you know, you're going to fund a certain amount. You expect us to raise some more money. And if we had this money, it would allow us to do a little, maybe a little larger job, a little larger task.
So yes, we do work with the foundation, and we are a recipient of some funding from them, I believe, though that's sort of outside of my bailiwick within Sustainable CT, but we're working on some housing projects. At any rate, the match fund is intended to be, the match component is small dollar donations. So we're not matching existing grants that you've received. And the reason behind that is so that people are picking projects. They're basically voting for projects they want to see in their backyard with $5, $10, $25, so that they have ownership of that. So it's a community garden. Well, I gave you $50 for that, and I want a plot now, and I'm going to come and care about this. This is ours, and that's the intent of the match fund. So we do have a required minimum number of donors. I believe it's 20. We don't match these large existing grants, as I said. This could be used. So let's say you were using some of that Hartford Foundation money for a project, but you needed the last 15,000. Well, 75 could be from us, 75 small dollar donations to sort of finish off that larger project. So we can be creative with it, but the intent is really that these are the people's projects that they want to see, that they're contributing to, and they're going to see them soon. So it's not this, some grants you apply for them, 2 years later you find out you have to make some updates on your application, then another year you get the money, and then you build a project, and it just takes so long. These are fast, immediate projects that are benefiting people right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Councillor Emmanuel,
No questions. Thank you.
Councillor Levine.
Hi, again, thanks for coming. We're excited hopefully to get started with this. The only question I have is maybe you've noticed as we go through COVID, towns that are trying to get to different levels of achievement. Are there any kind of common challenges you're seeing that they're going through, and maybe things that we can use that information to help avoid some of those things, or kind of navigate things a little better that they had some struggles with?
Well, I think the biggest is what you've probably already encountered of how to meet during COVID when you can't actually meet. And that was big at the front end of this, where people were figuring out technology and getting Zoom licenses, or figuring out, are you Zoom, are you WebEx, are you going to do free conference call? What is that going to be? Sometimes have done a mixture of all three. I think that we're getting better and more comfortable with these Zoom applications. I know personally I am. I feel like you can really connect over these platforms. So some towns are still struggling if they don't have Zoom or WebEx access. It's a little bit more challenging to do this over the phone. But that's probably the biggest. And then how to connect with the population, people with different actions. Can you have events? What can you do? And just kind of getting over that mental barrier that it can't be done because we can't meet in person. It can. And we have lots of examples of towns who've thought a little bit outside the box on how to connect with people. Examples during COVID would be, so a town, Bristol, ran a Solar for All campaign during the height of COVID, which is a campaign with the Green Bank and Posigen, targeting low to moderate homeowners to put up solar panels. And that's often a segment of the population that's left out of the solar development. But you save a lot of money. If you can get solar on your rooftop, you can save a lot of money. So it's critical for times like COVID, targeting people who are probably at home spending more money on electricity. Let's get some solar panels up there. They took this on during COVID. They signed up pre-COVID, then COVID happened. There was a pause. How the heck do we do this? All right, now we're gonna figure something out. They had yard signs to get the word out, radio spots, the news came out. I think it was for this project, they were even putting information in school lunches. So people were collecting lunches from the schools over the summer months. So just thinking outside the box on ways to get the message out. And it was an extremely successful campaign. I don't remember any of the numbers. I'm not a numbers gal, but I do remember hearing from the Posigen and Green Bank rep, Emily Basham, that this was really successful. And even after the campaign closed, they had the news come out, which was big because that was in person. And then more people called after they saw it on the news that they wanted to move forward with the program. even though the program was wrapped up, they're still going. They're still going to honor those requests. But that was all during COVID. So people, I mean, we're all figuring out how to live in this world that's changed. And I think people are getting a little more comfortable trying things out remotely and again, just being creative, for lack of a better term. I'm not being creative with my terms, but they were being creative with their techniques of engagement.
And just quickly to add, so a lighter lift, an example of a lighter lift, I spoke on a presentation that was sponsored by Sustainable Southbury, which is Southbury's local energy group, all of volunteers, and they had a Zoom webinar for their town residents just about what energy programs, financing, grant programs are available for them. So the Connecticut Green Bank and a rep from Eversource was there. So those are examples of, no cost efforts that can be done virtually and serve the whole town. And they had, something like over 100 residents that just listened in. So lots of opportunity for town engagement.
Great. No, we'd be happy to steal some of their ideas if they're helpful too. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm just writing down as you speak. So, okay, I think that leaves you, Councilor Greenspan. Yes.
So my question will be a little different, I guess. It looks like you've done some programs. You started in about 2018, and as you're familiar working with towns, particularly from the council side, every 2 years we have elections, and sometimes positions change. So, what's your experience with maintaining continuity with towns as members may change over time?
That's a great question, and one that we are in now. So we're 3 years. So we've actually lived through election cycles. This has happened. That's something we're starting to think about more and more. Though I will say we have had towns that have had elected leaders turn over, and they have continued in the program. And one even went from being registered to being certified with a new leader. And in that case, the town leader was the point of contact, which it's a way to go. It's an option to have your elected officials be the point of contact for the town, but it's healthy and helpful to have a network of people who are working on sustainable CT in a town, not just for the continuity, but for the lift, for the experience, for sharing any perceived workload. The town planner is going to know the planning actions. The public works director is going to know the energy actions, just to connect. And part of that connection is it's building community and, setting up the connective tissue for a town. So we always suggest that you have a deep bench, or at least have a bench, and it's not just sitting on the shoulders of one person who may decide to move elsewhere. And that could be a volunteer. It could be a staff person. They take another job somewhere else, or it could be an elected official who chooses to leave office, or that is just the option that's presented to them. So that's sort of our process now.
So along those lines, I guess the value is to have strong staff involved, hoping to maintain that continuity, but also a residential buy-in. So the more we get our residents involved, they help us maintain a program going forward, because then it's a direction from our residents.
Absolutely. And a real goal of the program is to build community, to create places where people want to be. And the only way to really do that is to be connected and know what it is people want and need. So that's a core tenet of the program, and something we hope comes out of working through the actions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think we got everyone. I'm very happy that you guys came tonight. So thank you both, Joe and Jessica. And it was a wonderful presentation. I think, we've started to talk a little bit about this offline in anticipation of you being here and sort of working. You had sent us a template by way of example for a resolution, which was pretty straightforward. So I think perhaps for our next meeting, we can put that on the agenda and talk about it a little bit more and figure out which group or committee that is in existence now. So we're not really straining our resources, particularly town staff. And I think one of the committees that came to mind for many of us was our plan implementation committee, because they oversee our plan of conservation and development, which really touches on all of these topics, right? Whether it's economic development or farmland preservation, all of the things that this program and your actions cover. So that might be the best place. That's something we can talk about. And as it turns out, our town planner is the staff on that committee. So, it kind of makes sense. And then I think Councillor Duff had mentioned, that committee could feed into our other subcommittees or boards, depending on what a project may be. So I think it's something that we can easily do. And I'm excited to continue the dialogue at our next meeting and hopefully pass a resolution. So thank you very much for coming out and helping us move in this direction. I think it's going to be a huge benefit for our community if we can get it off the ground and implement some new policies moving forward.
Great.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having us. This has been a great opportunity.
All right, well, stay safe, enjoy the snow.
Thanks,
You too.
everyone. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Have a good night.
Good night. Okay, we are going to move right into public comment. And let me just read the notice first, that this portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public, who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov. You will be provided with a link to attend the Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how you will participate. And I'm super excited because we actually have someone tonight in public comment, probably because he's snowed in, nothing else to do, but we will take it. Welcome, Mr. Ciccarello. But you do need to give your address.
Thank you, Mayor Murata. Ed Ciccarello, 40 Riverview Road, Rocky Hill. I will preface it by saying it is 3 minutes, so I would if you could bear with me, give me another minute. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Mayor Murata, town councilors, and town manager Mir. I come to you tonight to alert you and to seek your continued support for a no pollution solution to the former Rocky Hill dump on Meadow Road. The owners of this former dump, Meadow Properties and LLC, owned by Robert Greco and Greg Lyschatz, submitted a revised closure plan for the former dump very recently, January 21st, 2021. In this plan, they proposed to dump in our community 237,000 cubic yards, which is equal to 600 million pounds of polluted soil. 600 million pounds of polluted soil contaminated with gasoline, diesel fuel, virgin fuel oil, soils contaminated with other petroleum fluids, waste oil, and other special soil wastes. What? They tried a similar plan before in 2018. And this body actually, town council, said no. Our town attorney, in a letter to Meadow Properties, July of 2018, called their proposal, quote, troubling, end quote, and said that, quote, we have a feasible and prudent alternative, end quote, to this unwarranted dumping of polluted soils. DEEP in March of 2019 rejected Meadow Properties' last plan, which is similar to this one they propose now. The owners of this dump are proposing 25 truck trips a day through our Great Meadows or down Glastonbury Avenue. They want to turn the clock back to the dirty, industrialized Rocky Hill of 1950s and the 60s, when the Hartford Rayon fouled up the air, when the American Oil Company threatened our Connecticut River with oil spills, when the dump itself was on fire and trucks queued up along Meadow Road for hours. Rocky Hill has changed. Agriculture, recreation, tourism, and residential living is the future of this area, not dumping polluted soil. People want to walk along Goff Brook looking for eagles in the meadows, not dodge polluted, soil-filled trucks. Boaters, fishermen, and sightseers want to relax at quiet Ferry Park and not hear the constant din of an industrial cacophony of bulldozers and horns from a dump. How will the owners, Jim Mitchell of the new restaurant at the train depot, or Leonard Thielen of the Foundry condos, ever be successful with 50 trucks a day driving past their establishment? Do you think our farmers want those trucks and the associated dust all over their fields and the meadows? So we need your continued support, the town council's continued support for a no pollution solution for the former Rocky Hill dump. And I'd like to leave you with this quote by David McKeegan from the DEEP, who said, and I quote, "You can correct this fairly easily by repairing the erosion problems, fixing the leachate outbreaks by making them go back into the landfill, fix the areas on top of the landfill that may have settled, and do some monitoring, and you'd be done," end quote. This problem should be corrected easily with a no pollution solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank
And
you, Mr.
Sustainable
Chiccarello.
Connecticut, way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have another comment in the form of a letter, and I have to pull that up on my phone. So if you can give me a minute. Okay. So this is from a Kylene Byron, and she resides at 7 Esther Road. And let me just read her her comments. Dear council members, I am writing regarding the recent revised materials which were submitted to Connecticut Deep on behalf of Meadow Properties LLC on January 21st, 2021, pertaining to the former Rocky Hill dump site located between Ferry Park and Quarry Park. I am a resident of Rocky Hill, and I am very concerned about Meadow Properties' repeated attempts to diverge from Connecticut Deep's request for remediation and the repeated attempts to utilize the requests of Connecticut Deep in order to create financial gain by essentially operating a solid waste disposal facility and ultimately over-altering the site in a toxic and polluted way. It is quite clear that the property owner's main goal is to create a more financially friendly site for Meadow Properties' future development. This is a critical area adjacent to the Connecticut River, 2 public parks in Ferry Park and Quarry Park, a historic site in the Glastonbury Rocky Hill Ferry, and abundant agriculture. We also have critical habitats, many precious natural resources, wildlife, aquatic species, and water sources that must be protected. One property owner's desire to defray their costs by accepting contaminated soils for a profit is not worth risking all these precious assets. I encourage you as the front line to protecting the health and safety of the general public and residents of Rocky Hill to continue to keep this matter at the forefront, ensure that the remediation performed at the former dump site is done so with clean fill in the least invasive way possible and only within the limits of the areas requiring remediation by DEEP. There are several reasonable and prudent alternatives to the plan that it says that has been submitted to Connecticut Deep by Meadow Properties LLC, which the property owner refuses to accept. As a community, we need to continue to be vigilant to ensure that the safe, no pollution solution is the ultimate outcome of this remediation. The health and safety of the residents, agriculture, wildlife, water sources, and generations of people who will be forced to live with these decisions for years to come is not worth the financial gain that the property owner is seeking. There is no price to be placed on the value of the resources at risk. Please continue to stay vigilant in addressing this issue to ensure the safe outcome for the general public. Okay, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Byron. And I think that was it. Okay. So moving off of public comment, we will go into appointments and resignations. Councillor Duff, do you have any?
Not at this meeting, no.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Sharma? I think he's saying no. Okay, let's move on to approval of the minutes of Town Council meeting January 19th, which you all have in your packet, and I presume you've all read. And so I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting, January 19th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
One
Aye.
abstention.
One abstention? Okay. That's John Emmanuel for our minute person. Okay, so moving on to subcommittee reports. We'll start with finance.
Finance has not met since the last council meeting. Our next meeting is February 11th at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Government ops.
Government operations was scheduled to meet tonight, but due to the weather had to cancel its meeting. Our next scheduled meeting will be Monday, March 1st.
Thank you. Public safety.
Public safety did not meet. Our next meeting is February 16th at 5:30.
Thank you. Senior liaison.
Senior liaison did meet on January 25th. A couple of things from our meeting. There will be a Valentine's lunch box pickup on February 12th, and you need to register in advance. The main number to call to register, 860-258-2799. We also at our meeting had invited Mary Hogan, the library director, to join us, learn about some programs that the library is doing that are multi-generational, not specific to seniors. But one of the programs that was that they've been doing since the start of COVID is they've actually been doing Zoom training, one-on-one Zoom training for residents of Rocky Hill. They've run 226 different programs since March. So if seniors are looking for programs that may not be offered by Human Services and the Senior Center, the library may be an option, and information is available on the library's website. So for anybody that's interested. Also, we got a quick update on vaccines. Anybody that is 75 and older and having difficulty registering for a vaccine, Human Services will take information and help get you on a list. And that's really for anybody that doesn't have email access or internet access. They don't have any shortcut that you're not able to get to. But anybody that needs assistance, they can call the main number again, 860-258-2799, or they could contact Denise directly at 860-258-2786. And that concludes the senior liaison report.
Thank you. Moving on, land acquisition and farmland preservation.
We did meet. We discussed some possible action plans for when the town would take possession of the Streska farm on the 29th. The 28th of January was the last date that the farmer had to remove items from his property and vacate, and he did, handing over the keys on Thursday, I guess it was Thursday morning, the 29th, to town staff. John, I don't know if you want to, town manager John Mayer, I don't know if you want to add anything more regarding the transition of that farm.
Yes, Ed was right. We had that historical moment where the keys was exchanged from the farm over to our highway department, who were in the process of securing the property. If you go by there now, you'll see a number of cement blocks and Jersey barriers as we try to secure the property from public so that no one injures themselves or damage gets done to the property right now. The snowstorm is sort of throwing our schedule off as far as meeting with scrap contractors that might be interested in quoting a price on helping the town clear up the property, as well as meeting with our environmental testing group that did most of the parcel A, the farm lease properties testing for us after we acquired the property. And then, so we're sort of at the mercy of the weather until we can start moving along. But at least he's the former owner of the property has left the presence has left the property, and we're doing the best we can to get started on cleaning up the property.
Thank you, John. I would add that so many folks out there watching are interested in the transition of the farm and are keeping us abreast of movements of materials. And yes, material was removed from the site to other town sites, and those sites have been served cease and desist orders by notices by the town planning and zoning officer. So those particular sites should be getting cleared up rather quickly. It is our hopes that they clean up rather quickly. And also the barriers are up to help us secure the site. They're not the barriers of the farmer trying to keep his stuff in. The barriers are there so we can secure the site and then let professionals remove it. Also, I would note, again, one common myth that's out there that keeps getting raised that we have, we continue to confirm within the committee is that there's two cleanups going on. There's the remaining physical equipment, and that will be cleaned up using the $500,000 that was retained by the town. That is part of the purchase price. So the farmer did not get his last $500,000. That $500,000 is in a town bank account, and we will use that to remove trucks and cars and scrap metal and physical things. But once that's done, that will trigger the funding to go out. The house itself is going to be raised, as they say, demolished from a different fund, and that was funds that we raised in the bond beyond the purchase price. So there's a fund that the town manager manages, and hopefully we can clean up that house with that fund. So two different funds, two different projects, junk, house, and that the next meeting for land acquisition and farmland preservation will be February 23rd at 6 o'clock.
Ed, just one note. Sorry, you talk about misconceptions. One other thing that we want to make sure folks know is that just because the town owns a property doesn't mean that people can go on it. We're still stabilizing, as you mentioned, and the town, I believe, will be putting up gates, secure access. Part of it will be working lands. Other parts of it eventually, will be used for passive recreation, but we're not there yet. So folks should not think that just because the keys are handed over that they can go out there and take a look.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to liaison to the state representative and the state senator.
No report from the state senator, and from the state representative, Kerry Wood. We have a letter dated February 1st, and I believe State Rep Wood is interested in helping with the town dump issue we spoke about earlier. It is addressed to the Rocky Hill Town Council, Town of Rocky Hill, 761 Old Main Street, Rocky Hill, Connecticut, to the Rocky Hill Town Council, town manager, and supportive staff. We have made great strides as a community in protecting open space, expanding our walking trails, and preserving our farming heritage. I have been working on the town's behalf to invest in our parks, most recently bringing state bonding dollars to Elm Ridge Park area. It is no surprise that during the past 11 months, there has been a significant increase in usage of our open spaces and parks as people reconnect with the environment and our natural resources as a way to deal with the stress of our current situation. With our residents' priorities in mind, I ask that you consider a more environmentally friendly approach to handling the Rocky Hill dump site, a solution that requires contaminated fill and the trucking of those substances within our neighborhoods is counterproductive to the goals that our community has asked of us. Additionally, we are all proud to call the Meadows and its surroundings a natural wonder, where farming along with habitats have coexisted for generations. If my office can be of assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you for your countless hours and dedication to our community. Sincerely, Carrie Woods, State Representative of the 29th District. And I believe her phone number is 860-240-8585 at the Capitol. And Carrie Wood's email is Carrie, KERRY.WOOD at cga.ct.gov.
Thank you. Moving on to school liaison.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a report. John Murphy, you can please pull up the slide deck. Thank you. So, Madam Mayor, as you know, and the Town Council knows probably that last Tuesday and Thursday, Board of Ed had a workshop for the superintendent's budget, and it was presented to the board. And I want to take this opportunity today to walk you through some of the highlights of that budget and some connected items there. So, John Murphy, if you can please move on to the first slide. Thank you. So the lead here is that the superintendent of schools, Mr. Dr. Mark Zito, I should say, has proposed a budget which increases the BOE budget by 2.3% over a baseline of $46 million to $48 million in change. That is about $1.8 million. So most of our budget, as you can see on the pie chart on the left, most of the BOE budget is comprises of the salaries for negotiated staff. I should say, in terms of like the certified staff as well as the non-certified staff. Certified staff, which has teachers in there, have a negotiated general wage increase of 1.7% and a negotiated step increase of 1.36% embedded in that 2.3% increase in the salaries. So that's like the bulk of it. The second part of that increase is the benefits, which is about 0.58%. And to that effect, this is coming from a 3% overall increase in the health insurance budget, which, believe it or not, is a win because this is including the factors which have been controlling costs, like negotiated changes in the premium cost sharing with the employees and favorable claims experience. So like I said, believe it or not, a 3% increase in health benefits is a win for the town, if you will. And so those two items really comprise of like 75% of the overall increase of 3.9% over the baseline. And the drivers there obviously are the salaries, and then the other ones being the benefit costs and the property service maintenance costs and things like that, which are like the smaller increases, but they are contractual. So again, we have seen this movie before. Obviously, a lot of these increases are contractual, and they kind of like are kind of on a timetable. So that's kind of like the takeaway here from a dollar standpoint, right? But I want to put this into a context of what are underlying these numbers, right? In terms of like how our school system is doing. And if you can please move to the next slide, John. Thank you. So to put it into some context, like I said, the school enrollment here has been pretty stable for the last couple of years. And as Dr. Zito presented, courtesy the New England School Development Council, these numbers are projected to stay stable and flat over the next over this decade, I should say. So which is actually good because and again, like, this is all coming out of, like, how you see, like, kindergarten enrollment, in relation to, like, the number of births that happen per thousand, right? Not just here, but over, the United States, right? So these numbers, some of the ingredients of these numbers, this projection, I should say, are based into, like, birth and death rates, right? And as they move, these numbers move as well, obviously. And then there are migration patterns, which again, you can't control, like in and out, net in and out in Connecticut, and where that migration is, right? That net migration. So, so some of this is interesting, but really the bottom line here is that we are projected to stay flat in terms of enrollment. If you can move to the next slide, John. So some good news here, right? I wanted to share some good news as part of this package, and as you can see, on the chart on the right, Rocky Hill students are outperforming most of their peer groups, towns in their peer group, I should say. And this is in context of also COVID, because due to COVID, we haven't had like a lot of, like, these assessments which will normally take place through the state, right? Like the Smarter Balanced Assessment, the SBA, or the Next Generation Science Test, or even the SATs, right? They have not taken place during this time of COVID. And what we have to look at here is, like, from a data perspective, are the AP test results, which did take place in mid of 2020. And those show a lot of promise. If you look at those results, 86% of the students taking it in Rocky Hill scored 3 or higher, meeting or exceeding expectations, or the standard, I should say. They were on the top of their peer group, which is great news. If you can move to the next slide, John, thank you. So the other side of that coin is, which is always has to be put in context.
Email from somebody in the state that Rocky Hill has 20,115 residents, and so far 2,143 have received their first dose, which is 10.7. And for those over 75, the Department of Health says that there is 1,940 in Rocky Hill, and they're saying that 688 of those have received their first dose, which is 35.5% of that age group. Moving on to something different. We finally completed the sale of 60 Walnut last week. So we did sell it to the guy Rockamore, and so that adventure in the town's life is completed. Let's see. You should have got a copy late Friday from Stuart through myself relating to the 2020 grand list. He provided some detail explanations and so on, and some nice graphs and charts and so on. But the 2020 grand list grew by 0.46%, or 10.8 million. Real estate grew by 4.6 million. Personal property grew by 3.2 million, and motor vehicle grew by about $3 million. Lisa, I did receive last week a request for naming a municipal facilities. I need to forward on to you from a group that wants to name the barn that we're planning on putting up at Strasker Farms and calling it the Joe Kohanna Community Agricultural Center. So I'll forward that on to you and when the appropriate time. it is when the barns get put up and so on. We can work on the naming committee. Let's see. A brief update on the roads. The highway department's been keeping up with it so that the roads are passable. But their problem is they'll do one sweep of the town, and then due to the steady snowstorm, they'll have to start all over again and to try to get caught up. Fortunately, there's not many cars on the road, so it's making their jobs easier. Hopefully the snow will be stopping around the 10 to 11 o'clock time period, where the crew perhaps could take a well-deserved break and then work on getting things in shape, the roads, the parking lots, and so on, before the morning rush hour. And if you haven't heard, there will be no school tomorrow in Rocky Hill. I think the last thing is that my town managers meeting with the 4 other town managers that neighbors Rocky Hill will be next Thursday to try to see if there's any areas where we could, lack of a better word, regionalize some of our operations. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, and moving on to executive session. Discussion regarding the written legal opinion with the town manager and director of human resources and legal compliance. So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose for discussion of written legal opinion with town manager and director of human resources and legal compliance.
Second,
Second.
in favor? Aye. All right, IT John, gonna hand it over to Deputy Mayor Charlotte. Here we go.
Give me a moment, please. Give me a moment to stop everything here.
First, take your